Today's video is sponsored by Rise of Kingdoms, an epic strategy game where you choose one of 11 historic kingdoms to take from a lone clan to a powerful civilization. Each has their own architectural style, powerful units, and legendary commanders like Sun Tzu and Julius Caesar. I've chosen Genghis Khan, and by strategically using terrain and strengthening my power through skill trees, I can defend against other commanders and sweep across Europe again, conquering vast lands one by one like Genghis Khan himself, a ruthless figure well known for his power, military tactics, and brutality. Now there's a guy even Machine Gun Kelly would be scared to mess with. Join over 50 million players and get details on their upcoming giveaway by checking out the link in the description.
September 26, 1933. It ain't even dawn yet when Catherine pokes me. I groan and roll over. I'm sleeping off a bottle of gin. "Someone's in the house," she whispers. I listen. There's a faint noise from the hallway. I suddenly remember that I didn't lock the door when I brought the newspaper in. I entangle myself from the blankets and motion for her to stay put. I've just gotten out of bed and picked up a pistol when the bedroom door flies open. A police raid. How do you rob a bank? It ain't just sticking a gun in the teller's face. You gotta have some panache. Saunter in, dress real smooth. Wait until any old ladies leave the building. Maybe tip your hat at a pretty dame. Then, as you please, pull out your convincer and inform the clerk that it's a stick-up. Me? I have a special holster for my Tommy gun, so I can draw it with style. I always chuckle at the panic on the clerks' faces. I'm in charge. I have complete power over them, and I'm gonna take their moolah. Ma, God rest his soul, would be so disappointed to see me robbing banks. She wanted me to go to school, maybe become an insurance agent like Pop or some other respectable job. For kicks, I used to shoplift and run liquor for bootleggers. But because of Ma after high school, I got on the straight and narrow and went to Mississippi A&M College to study agriculture. Dropped out after 4 months. Books just weren't for me. From the start, Pop and I didn't get on much. I never minded him. Me leaving school was the last straw. Pop turned his back on me, then Ma died. Never again did I set foot back in my Memphis childhood home. By then, some coppers were sniffing around on account of my old activities. I dropped the bonds for my name and become George Kelly to beat the heat, and also to keep my family out of it. I couldn't do anything right in Pop's eyes, but I could change my name. The only good thing to come out of my college days was meeting Miss Geneva Ramsey, and she soon became Miss Kelly. We eloped and had 2 boys. I really did try to stay on the straight and narrow. I worked as a commissary clerk, drove a taxi, farmed goats, but there never seemed to be enough money to keep us afloat. I slipped back into a little petty theft and bootlegging on the side. All for the good of the family, of course. But Geneva didn't like that. She left and took my sons with her. That's when I fell into bootlegging full time. My poor old heart was aching, and you gotta fill your life with something. For me, it was gin, girls, and guns. I lived it up. I had run-ins with the coppers here and there, caught some fines, and once I got a few months vacation at the state pen in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hazards of the job. When they caught me selling booze on an Indian reservation near Tulsa, they finally were able to make it stick. In 1928, I was sentenced to 3 years at Leavenworth. After that, I promised myself that the law would never lock me up again. The police shine their flashlights in our eyes and point shotguns at us. Catherine bolts up in bed and screams. I'm outnumbered. I put down the pistol. "Don't shoot, G-men," I say as I raise my hands. It's over. As much as I hated Leavenworth, I learned a lot of tricks there. I made several acquaintances. Mobsters, bank robbers, bootleggers, triggermen, card sharks. Not long after I got out, I met Catherine. I was at a speakeasy and there was this glamorous girl. She was running around with some local big shot. From the start, I aimed to take her away from him. I had a good way about me where I could talk around people, especially girls. Soon, we were married. I was her 4th husband. Many people said she did in her 3rd. Now, I ain't saying she killed her husband, but I ain't saying she didn't kill him either. If a man's fool enough to let a pair of gams get one over on him, well then, he got what's coming to him. Catherine was the one who gave me my first machine gun, a .45 caliber Thompson. There's rumors that I never handled a gun before that Catherine made my reputation, but nobody made me but me. I've been shooting since I could walk. Even as a boy, I could knock a dime off a dead man's eye at 20 paces. The recoil of the machine gun did take some getting used to, though. Catherine and I stayed at her ma's place for a while, the Shannon Ranch near Paradise, Texas. We spent a lot of time roaming the fields. I practiced shooting nearly every day, blasting walnuts and tin cans off fence posts. I ain't bragging when I tell you I got so good that I could write my name in bullet holes. Then I hooked up a couple of pals I met in prison for some stick-ups. In less than 2 years, I did 6 bank robberies and a few other jobs. I did stick-ups from Texas to Minnesota and back again, shooting my name into walls and signs. Sometimes Catherine came along, but she wasn't much use during a robbery. But boy, could she spin the tail over her drinks afterwards. It was a good time. We were living high on the hog. The coppers search each room in the house. Catherine is caterwauling, making up lies, telling them that I threatened to kill her, that I made her come with me. The police haul her off to the bathroom to let her get dressed. I convinced them to let me put on some clothes too. 2 feds in overcoats stand guard, aiming their shotguns at me while I get into my pants. I reach for my nice coat, but a copper snatches it out of my hands. In fact, they're packing up all our stuff, taking Catherine's furs, fancy dresses, and the pearls I bought her. I ask, what are they arresting me for? A copper punches me in the mouth. Charles Urschel ring a bell, he says. I taste blood. Oh yeah, that. I spent days plotting with my partner Albert, along with Catherine, on how to kidnap the millionaire oil man Charles Urschel. I wasn't gonna screw this up like last time. About 1.5 years before, my pal Eddie and me tried this scheme on a South Bend, Indiana banker named Howard Wolverton. One night we forced his car off the road and kidnapped him and his wife. Later we released Mrs. Wolverton with a ransom note demanding $50,000. We took Howard's glasses, blindfolded him, and for the next 2 days drove him around northern Indiana. He kept pleading with us, telling us that he didn't have the money, and after a while, we got to believing him. We let him go on the outskirts of Michigan City when he promised to raise the money and pay. We never got a single dime, not even when we threatened him over the phone afterwards. I went back to robbing banks for a while, but things got hot, and a couple of buddies of mine got gunned down. One of the hazards of the job, I guess. But I still decided to give kidnapping another shot. This time, Catherine and I hooked up with my old bank robbing partner, Albert Bates. On the night of July 22nd, 1933, guns drawn, Albert and I paid a visit to the Urschel mansion at 327 Northwest 18th Street in Oklahoma City. The Urschels were playing bridge with another couple on their porch. The ladies started to scream. I pointed my gun at them and threatened to blow their heads off if they didn't shut up. That's when we realized we didn't know which man was Charles. And wouldn't you know it, the men wouldn't tell us. So we snatched the both of them and drove a few miles outside of town. We pulled over and made them give us their wallets. Bingo! We took $50 from Walton Jarrett's wallet before letting him go. We blindfolded Charles and took him to the Shannon Ranch where we kept him handcuffed to a chair. Meanwhile, we sent letters to his wife and some of his friends demanding $200,000 in 20 bills in exchange for Charles' safe return. Our plan worked. Per our instructions, the ransom was packed in a leather bag and handed over to one of our friends near the LaSalle Hotel in Kansas City. 9 days after we had kidnapped him, we drove Charles to a barbecue stand near Norman, Oklahoma, and released him. After that, we returned to the ranch, divided up the ransom money, and split. I guess Mrs. Urschel called some newfangled national kidnap hotline and was able to get in touch with none other than the head of the FBI himself, J. Edgar Hoover. Apparently, the feds had been the ones who managed the response to our ransom. They had marked the money with noted serial numbers before it was delivered. Within a few days, 3 of my pals who had helped with the kidnapping got caught in St. Paul, Minnesota, when they tried to use the Mark 20s. When Charles made it home, he was interviewed by FBI special agents. We didn't treat him badly at the ranch, and he had kept his wits about him the whole time. He couldn't see, but by God could Charles listen and remember. Somehow, based on the noises he heard, the feds were able to figure out he was kept at the Shannon Ranch. They went there looking for me and Albert there, but we were long gone by the time they got there. The feds arrested Catherine's ma and stepdad though. Our plan had been to go somewhere nice. Cuba, maybe out to California, or even down to Mexico. I wanted to see Catherine dip her pretty toes in the Gulf, but that required a lot of money. We now knew the ransom money was hot, so we buried most of our share, over $70,000, in Texas at a ranch owned by one of Catherine's uncles. Hoover wanted media attention for the newly formed FBI, so we decided to make an example of us and started a nationwide manhunt. We traveled to Cleveland, then Detroit, then Chicago. I sent Charles Urschel a threatening letter telling him to get the feds to back off. It wasn't fair that the feds were keeping Catherine's family locked up in an attempt to lean on us. We went to Davenport, Des Moines, then back to Chicago. We wore disguises, sometimes Catherine wore a red wig. I dyed my hair red, then later bleached it. We also traded cars along the way. Every day on the radio there were reports about me being a menace and a murderer. A public enemy. I had never killed anyone in my life. All because I like to carry around that machine gun. Anything to turn the public in the police's favor. We ended up in Memphis at the home of my old buddy John. I was drinking heavily and fought a lot with Catherine. It was stressful knowing that any minute the whole thing might come down on us. The Fed even found our buried share of the ransom money. It's getting light when the coppers lead me out of the house, my hands cuffed behind my back. My poor caddy sits lopsided in the driveway. Coppers lift the air out of my tires. The street is blocked with police cars. They sent a whole army just to capture 2 people. Some confused neighbors have to come out to see what the ruckus is about. I'm Machine Gun Kelly, I say, and then a copper pushes my head so I can duck down and get into the Model B.
Don't forget, Civilization is calling you to battle. Immortalize your journey. Download Rise of Kingdoms and get details on their upcoming giveaway at the link in the description.